Yes, how are you doing? Sorry that today I have not been able to make it to class, but I have decided to record this video which will help you to cover for our lesson because I have some commitment somewhere which is unavoidable. So this video is basically going to be about muscle as a tissue, as a form of tissue in animals. We have looked at epithelial tissues. We have just finished connective tissues. Now we want to look at muscle tissues. So muscle tissues are special kinds of animal tissues. Why are they special? Because they contain cells which are capable of contracting. They call those cells contractile cells. They are capable of contracting. And these cells are thin and elongated. They look like they are long. They are not long, but we call that kind of longness, I should say in quotes, elongated. Because the cells were not supposed to be long. Cells are not supposed to be long. But these ones are looking long, so we call it elongated. So muscle cells are special because they can contract and they are thin and elongated. So what makes these muscle cells capable of contracting? It's basically because of two kinds of proteins. The two kinds of proteins that make muscle cells capable of contracting are these ones. The actin protein, which is also called actin filament. Actin filament. The actin filaments are thin. It is very important to know that actin filaments are thin. We shall know why it is important. Then we have the myosin protein or the myosin filament. Myosin filament are thick. So those are the two kinds of contractile proteins. These two kinds of proteins are able to contract. That is why the muscle cells which contain them can also contract and relax. I hope you understand what contraction means. Great. So what is the basic structure of all muscle cells? Muscle cells, rather the basic structure of all muscles as a tissue, a muscle as a tissue. So a muscle as a tissue is made up of elongated and thin cells which are contractile. So muscle cells make up the muscle tissue, and they are special because they are elongated and thin and capable of contracting. So because of this elongatedness, the muscle cells can also be called muscle fibers. So wherever under muscles you hear me talking about muscle fibers, I am referring to muscle cells. When I talk about muscle fibers, just know I'm talking about a muscle cell. It is a cell. It has all the organelles that you can talk about. However, the organelles are modified for the function of contraction, as we shall look at. So all muscle tissues are made up of muscle cells, also called as muscle fibers. The muscle fibers contain a special cytoplasm which is called sarcoplasm. So the cytoplasm of a muscle cell is called sarcoplasm. Isn't it interesting? So when I ask you which of the following is the name given to the cytoplasm of a muscle cell, it is called sarcoplasm. And the cytoplasm contains a network of membranes which are called sarcoplasmic reticulum. So how do you relate it to the other previous cells we talked about, the normal cells? we have endoplasmic reticulum in the normal cells. But in muscle cells, the endoplasmic reticulum is now given a special name, which is called sarcoplasmic reticulum. That is interesting. And then a muscle cell is surrounded by a cell membrane, which is called sarcolemma. That is interesting. So everything is becoming sarcoplasm, the cytoplasm, sarcoplasmic reticulum, the endoplasmic reticulum in this case. Then the cell membrane is called sarcolemma. Very good. And this sarcolemma is still made up of a phospholipid bilayer, like you know in the other cells. However, now it is for a muscle cell, and therefore it is elongated, like the way the shape of the muscle cells are also elongated. Then in the cytoplasm, we have thread-like structures which are called myofibrils. They are called myofibrils. Myofibrils are composed of those two filaments we talked about. Remember the contractile proteins, the actin and the myosin filaments are the ones which make up the myofibril. We shall see that these things are very important. Great. So that is how a muscle fiber or a muscle cell looks like. Because it has a nucleus, and you can see that the nucleus is also elongated. And this is, by the way, what we have shown on the screen there. The whole of this on the screen is a muscle cell. It is not a muscle. It is just a muscle cell still. And many of these muscle cells, which we call muscle fibers, will make up what we now call a muscle tissue. So you can look at it and you're like, this is a muscle. No, this is only one cell. But there are many of them in one muscle tissue. So it is elongated the way you are seeing. It is like a cylinder, elongated. And its nucleus is also elongated. And then something special that you should note is that there are many nuclei, very many nuclei. The normal cells have only one nucleus, but a muscle fiber, which is a muscle cell, contains many nuclei. So we call it multinucleated. Multinucleated. Because it has many nuclei. Multi means many. Nucleated. So, of course, the cytoplasm, which is this, is the one which we call the sarcoplasm. It is no longer called the cytoplasm, it's now the sarcoplasm. Then the cell membrane, this one here, the cell membrane there is now called the what? The sarcolemma. It's now called the sarcolemma. Then inside there, we have thin threads which are made up of actin and myosin filaments. Those ones are called myofibrils. Now, there are so many of these myofibrils. You can see all over. This one is a myofibril, this one is a myofibril, even this one, all these red things are myofibrils. There are very many. Then, you can see this this bluish thing here. That is what we would call the endoplasmic reticulum. But in this case, it is now called what? The sarcoplasmic reticulum. And then which structure is this one? What does it look like? Very good. You guessed it well. It is the mitochondria. So a muscle cell, because it needs to contract, it needs a lot of energy. So it contains very many mitochondria. Good. So that is a muscle cell, how it looks like. You just need to know how to name it, maybe not to draw it. Okay.